course, to be honest, I love it here, man. We fell in love here in Japan. I love this country. I love the people. We love the culture that the people have here, what the people represent here as well. And the game, how much has grown, over these years, being here and seeing how big the game has become or how big the league has become now.
Yeah.
I
Hey guys, Courtnall Skosan here, and welcome to Skosan Unplugged.
I told her mom that I was soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room. Hop in the car.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Courtnall Skosan, and if you haven't done so before, please smash the subscribe button. It would help this channel grow quite a lot. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. Leave us with a comment to let us know what your thoughts were on this episode. And today, we have a very special guest, Sylvian Mahuza. The man is in Japan at the moment, but hails from a place called George. We played some rugby together. We were roommates. An amazing person with an amazing story. And we're going to dig into all of that and more. Sylvian, thank you so much for availing yourself for this, brother. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Courtnall. Really honored. Super excited about this chat. So much to catch up about. It's been many, many years as you pointed out. But I'm really looking forward to it. So much to talk about. So much has happened, in both of our lives. So super excited.
I'm looking forward to that, man. But I want to start with something, and I know that you don't post a lot on Instagram. I know that. So I obviously when I prep for my guests, I go through everything. Like I literally I send lawyers some stuff. I've got some deep files that I get out. So if you have anything to hide, I'll find it. Trust me. Now that's just a joke, but. And you don't post a lot on Instagram, and one of your latest posts is a try that I actually want to discuss, and I actually want to start our conversation off like that. It was the 5th of February, I think, that you posted it. I'm gonna kind of give you an intro to it, and then I want you to kind of just give us an idea of what that moment was like, how it felt, what was going through your head when you were on the field. It's 2017. We're in Melbourne. You get the ball from a scrum, kick it downfield. I think it's Vola getting the ball. He sends it back. Elton catches the ball, takes the hit, offloads, and now I want you to go. Take us through that try, brother. It was against the Rebels in 2017. You're obviously I want to know what went on in your head. Is it your favorite try? And let's talk a little bit about the celebration as well.
Probably, probably one of the favorites, I must say. I think if I just go back a little bit to the scrum, actually our captain Warren Whiteley was we had our setup was called Brains. I don't know if you can remember.
Yes,
And
Brains game.
he told me, yes, Brains game, and he told me, Salas, if you want to go, you can go. So already before the scrum started, I thought in my mind, yes, if there's an opportunity to run, I should go. And obviously, as it goes, I kick the ball, and that as I see that ball going in the air, I thought to myself, maybe I can create something here, because I think the game hasn't gone anyway, because it started I think it's the second half already, and as soon as I caught the ball, I just in my head something just said, go, just go.
Yes.
So, and I remember the first guy beating the first guy, I got away, and I just heard Quagga Smith's voice in my right hand side and the inside, but I'm gonna go. I don't care who's next to me. I'm just gonna go. And as soon as I saw cross defender coming, I thought to myself, I have all the ability to beat this guy on the outside. I could probably step him back inside. But as soon as then I saw, you can see the number 11. He's coming back on the inside in the cover defense, and that's when I made my way inside. And I know as I was there, I actually wanted to offload it to him or pass it to him so he can score. Obviously, he's our captain. And the guy jumped in the air and I scored the try. And I think it was a week or 2 weeks before just before we traveled to Australia, I was watching LeBron James clips like it was ritual. So in that moment, it just took over. And I think he had a game winner where he did that. So he called the silencer, and I just thought, yo, that was a moment like almost like a game winner. And then they just took over.
Well, it looked like it was scripted, brother. It looked like you planned everything. Like, if I scored today, this is what I'm gonna do. But you know, these things happen, and I think it's one of the coolest tries I've seen you score. You know how hyped we were. We were all like going nuts,
Yes.
obviously, after the game, and even
Yes.
in that moment, we all celebrated it together because it was a sick try. I
Yes.
mean, that hit and spin, you did like a handoff bump spin thing with the number 10 or something. I don't even know what it was. And
Yes.
I'm like, this man is
Yes.
just not going down. No one's gonna catch him today. It's just he's gonna score. It's like you play PlayStation, you know, like that's literally what it looks like. But it was an awesome try, man. And I wanted to, on top of that, you know, like the celebration. You're obviously a big LeBron James fan. You know,
Yes.
we'll obviously we'll discuss something interesting right now. But basketball, like, what is the whole thing around the whole basketball thing? I know you're quite an avid fan of basketball. You know, is it your
Yes.
second love? Like, did you play even, you know, when you were in school or something?
So it's a funny story because it started from the movie, the Space Jam movie, which Michael Jordan starred in, and he was a
Yeah.
star back then in the 2000s. So in the in the 90s. So he was one of the my favorite players. Then after watching that movie, I watched a lot of his clips and stuff. So I used to just shoot a lot actually with my rugby balls and lay on my bed and I will shoot and say to myself, Jordan, Jordan. So I always liked doing that. And then as I got older, going into high school, I like playing with a basketball. Sometimes I would go shoot out. There was a friend of mine that I would go to. There was at our university that's there in George, NMMU. There's a spot there that you can go shoot, and I actually went with him. And since then, I just been hyped about it. Went to university myself at the Perk, and one of my other friends, he's tall as well. He liked basketball too, and so I went to shoot up with him. And I think the love of probably of the journeys of all those players, where they started and how they got to that, and then just the mentality of, I would say, they couldn't, like, there wasn't no other way to be great for the guys that I liked following. LeBron James, one of them, obviously Michael Jordan himself. So that's probably where it started, Courts. And then it just developed there, and obviously one of our mutual teammates of ours, with reminisce, also liked it as well. So
Yes,
I did a
massive,
lot of
massive.
drills and stuff with Howie as well, shooting drills, dribbling drills on our Sundays off and our Wednesdays off normally. So yeah, and then it just stayed with me.
So now, obviously, I'm going to ask you something that obviously it starts a lot of debates. We actually had this conversation at the Stormers the other day at the HPC. We talked about our top five. And, you know, like the top five is obviously a heated debate because there's so many guys that think LeBron is the GOAT. Other guys think, you know, it's my good man MJ, you know, because I'm obviously a massive MJ fan. You know, no one can make me think otherwise. Like for me, MJ is the GOAT. But you know, I'll give you my top
Yes.
five just now. I wanted to ask you, like, you know, maybe there'll be a heated debate in the comment sections. We don't know. Who's your
Yes.
top five of all time when it comes to NBA?
Yes, like a lot of people look at it like obviously the best five players. But I think just from my perspective, I look at it as guys who's dominated in their eras, I would say. And then the guys that I've probably seen with my own two eyes, you know, like I probably haven't seen Michael Jordan like when he was playing in the NBA because I was only watching his YouTube clips and stuff. But the other
Yeah.
guys I loved, you know, LeBron James would obviously be my goat. No, just because of all the other things he can do on a basketball court. If you take the winning part out of it, obviously he's a winner, but obviously people will discuss that thing about, you know, Michael Jordan went 6 for 6 and all that type of stuff. So you like yourself, but I would say to me, LeBron James would be in my top five. Probably go to Kobe Bryant is a guy that I also watched. You know, which I love, which reminds you a lot of Michael Jordan. You know, so he was probably those are probably the two best, my top two that I watched. Stephen Curry is another guy I started loving, especially the time we were at the Lions, because that's the
Yeah.
time he was making his mark as well. Another guy which is in this area as well is Kevin Durant.
Okay.
He's probably one of my other favorite players to watch, just for the length, the skill he has, for how nobody can actually block his shot. And obviously the most dominant center probably to have played the game, and Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq, the big diesel. So probably that's
Yeah.
my top five, you know. So obviously those are probably Hall of Famous, top 15, top 10 guys probably of all time. But those are my top five.
I think we're quite similar in that regard. You know, I've got Steph Curry on mine. I'm not going to give it in particular order, but we all know MJ
Yes,
is number one for me. You know, so MJ number one. We've got Kobe. We can't go without the Mamba mentality. You
Kobe
know, like for
Bryant,
me, Kobe changed
100%.
a lot when it comes to like how guys look at work ethic. You know, all of that kind of stuff, like just mindset and being a competitor. And that's something that obviously I fell in love with when I'm looking at Michael Jordan. Like, you know, he was literally competing in every facet of his life. Like, diamonds are,
Yes,
he'll compete with you on a golf course. He'll compete with you on a game of cards. You know, like the way I understand it, the man is
dominoes.
just the national competitor. You know, so that's one thing that I enjoy. I've got a similar personality when it comes. I'm just not that extreme. And then obviously I've got Magic. I've got Kareem. You know, just because
Yes,
Kareem for me, all-time scorer for 40 years, dude. Like for me, that's like
yes,
40 years. That's like Usain Bolt in
insane,
athletics. You know, like no one can
insane.
break that record. And until someone does that, obviously now that LeBron did it,
LeBron
with the
James, yeah.
scoring and everything. I understand why people are putting him at the top of the list. I can't put LeBron and MJ on that list. I feel like the two of them, like I feel like there's only space for one. You know, like I think a lot of people will disagree with me, but that's my top.
I think everybody has, think their own. It's subjective, you know. It's a subjective thing. So, however you feel and whatever that top five means to you, probably it's closer to how your perspective is from it. But yeah, I mean it's subjective, so you can decide whoever you want in that five. But I mean that top five is a all time great top five as well.
100%, 100%. I think a lot of them are like borderline there. And like you said, it's kind of like it's based on who you like as a person as well, who you
Yeah.
follow, who you like, keep up with their lives and
Yep.
what they've been doing. But I want to rewind a little
100%.
bit now. So we'll go deep into your story now, rugby, where it all started. So I want to rewind and go right back to the beginning. Sylvian
Yes.
Mahuza as a little boy, like, was it always rugby? And what inspired you to play the game? Like, how did that whole journey start for you?
Yeah, of course, that's a good question, man. Like, I haven't thought of this in a while. But I probably would say it would at first it wasn't just rugby because my parents were big on being active as kids.
Yep.
So I had to do a lot of obviously I had interest in sport, but they made me do a lot of different sport. I mean, I played cricket, rugby, I did athletics. I liked swimming at the time. I played a bit of tennis, I tried hockey, um, karate, anything I could think. When I was young, I literally tried to do as much as I possibly could. But at a time, I remember it was probably around 2004, 2005. I was a big athletics guy. I was I was doing 100 meters hurdles then, and I was one of the quickest in our province. And my ambition was, to win or to get to the SA champs and try to compete there and do well. And I
Yep.
remember under 13s, I went there and I was like, yo, bruh, I'm so far off of being the best in the country, but I'm the one of the best in my province. But anyways, and then time goes by and I'm not growing and I'm not getting taller, but the hurdles is getting taller. So now I'm thinking, yo, you know, what is this gonna be now? I'm gonna stay doing hurdles, we're gonna do something else. But my family, I've always had a family that love rugby. I mean, I grew up, my family supporting, different types of teams. My grandfather was probably my biggest inspiration for playing rugby. He loved, watching and listening to rugby. I remember when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, my grandfather, we couldn't watch the game at that stage when I was about that age. We used to listen to it on the radio. And my
Sure.
grandfather, he would always listen. We would listen to the Stormers games. Big Stormers fan. Brayton Paulser was probably the player. If he had his hands on the ball, he would know.
Magic.
Paulser. So I remember listening to that as a kid, and my older sister she made me a number 14 Brighton. I remember a shirt of mine, and it was a red shirt as well. She made it and wrote his name on it and gave it to me. It's like, yeah, here's your rugby shirt, and I remember that as a glimpse of when I started like liking rugby. Not to the extent
Mm.
where I thought it's gonna be my, the thing that I'm gonna do eventually
Yeah.
professionally, but I think that's where it started. Um, and as I got older and started to learn the game, I think that's probably the biggest thing that intrigued me about rugby because I
Mm.
love it. Today, I can't go like I come back from a game like last night, then I have to watch the game almost 2, 3 times because I just
Yeah,
love
yeah,
the
yeah.
game, going through everything and watching everything and every detail and yeah, so yeah, that's probably where it started. And my grandfather was definitely my biggest inspiration. Um,
Mm.
for me, I wanted to become a rugby player, and obviously my grandfather passed away not long after that. So yeah,
Mm.
he became my biggest inspiration.
That's so cool to hear, So obviously, like the inspiration and the journey to start the game started there. But when was the first time where you were like, okay, rugby can actually be something that I do for a living? Because I mean, I know growing up for me, you watch the games and you go and mimic the Rainer banners after the
Yes.
game, you run like them, and like you obviously with Paul say, that type of thing. But when did you make that shift to understand that okay, this is actually the dream that I have. I want to play professional rugby. Like this is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I remember um the first time I thought of someone else thinking I'm good, like
Mm.
I'm a really good player was that I think I was
Mm.
in my last year of school, and then
Sure.
I think we were I think we were getting ready for our tour to the Wildeklave or something like that. I can't remember exactly the
Mm.
camp we were, or the tour we were heading to at the first team of Outeniqua. And the coach, I remember telling me, he called me to this, like in his room, and he says to me, Sylvian, you're a very good player. You can
Mm.
become one of the best players, one day you can play professionally. He said that to me, and I was like,
Mm.
why is this guy saying this to me? I'm in school. I'm like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
And I remember after that conversation, he told me he installed so much belief in me. Um, Shout out to Mr. Meneer Pudel.
Lovely.
If he would have to watch this, shout out to you.
Mm.
Um, he really installed so much confidence after that conversation, thinking, yo, I can actually do something with this. And then we
Mm.
actually played. Um, I think we flew up there and I played in the competition. I played well. And I remember after that, we just left. Oh, yes, we were at the Puck Institute. Um, they had this Puck one, I think, week they normally had. And
Mm.
we were at that venue. I remember we played there. And as we traveled back, I remember they the coach called me in, the head coach now, Jacques Wolfard, he
Mm.
called me in and he's like, Silas, I think this university want to recruit me. And I said, what?
Sure.
And then probably it's the first time, like the first spark probably was there. The first
Mm.
spark was, I can do this, I can play. Um, I can be one of the best if I'm one of the best players in my age group, I can become one of the best players one day. And
Mm.
after that, I remember obviously out of school, went to university, and I remember watching the Junior World Cup at the university in the SS, and we were sitting there, and I'm saying to myself, Sylvian, I'm gonna make a vow to myself. If I can
Mm.
make this team next year, then I will play professional rugby. Then I will, put my studies on hold for now, but then I will go 100% for this thing. And I remember just, going hard in that preseason of 2012, and I'm working hard, or it was June of 2012. And I remember we played under 19 competition, and I remember being there for the first camp. I'm like, what? I'm there, I'm close enough now. And I
Yeah.
make the next group, I make the next cut, and finally I make the squad. And you're
Mm.
like, what? I'm actually in this group. And I remember that's the day, Courts, when I just told myself, I can't stop now. I mean, I was with some of the best players in the world. I mean, I played with Chesy, Quagga Smith, all those boys. So then you think to yourself, yeah, that's the opportunity. I just needed to confirm or reconfirm to myself that, I can do this for a career.
What's up, guys? If you got to this part of the episode, I want to leave you with something special just to say thank you for you being able to support this channel and showing some love. I recently joined Team NPL and I'm really looking forward to my journey with them. But I organized something quite special for you guys. If you use the code Skosan20 on your next online order, you can get 20% off your order. I really hope you guys enjoy that. And that's just one of the ways I'm trying to say thank you so much for being a part of this. Back to the episode. And I've got a little story that I want to add to that as well. But that's so amazing that you sat there and you made a vow to yourself and said, listen. And sometimes I feel like this is how God works, like you think it's you doing that, but it's actually God placing something in your heart, and
100%.
that's actually the Spirit speaking to you, saying, listen, this is attainable,
Yes,
this is what I want. But you're just reaffirming and confirming that to yourself, So you think it's you speaking to yourself, but actually God already placed that vision in your heart. He already saw that you were going to be there, but He needed you to believe it. So speaks through you, like sometimes it happens through different people, but sometimes it also comes from you from the inside, because sometimes things, how it goes with your faith journey, your faith journey,
Yes.
it has to sometimes come from the inside, it can't always be
100%.
coming from the outside. God will send people, He'll do it however way He needs to do it, but sometimes it comes from the inside. But I've got a similar story to that as well. I was, no craven weed, none of that, my story,
Yes.
but I sat and I watched the SA20s when Sampi Maastricht and all those guys were playing Elton and all the boys. I watched that tournament and I sat there and I was angry. I was literally angry. And I sat and watched and I'm like, I'm good enough to be there. Why? I'm not even making Craven Week, but I'm good enough to be there. God, why am I not there? So that was kind of like my thing, inside. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good enough to be there. And I kind of like spoke that thing into my mind the whole time. Like, I'm good enough to be there. Not to know that 2 years later, I'll actually be in the World Cup, playing SA under 20s. It's the weirdest thing. So that's why it's such a heartwarming thing for me when you said you sat there and you made a vow to yourself and you said, you know what, if you can make this team, you'll take this thing professionally. And look at what you've done in your career. God knew that was the step He needed you to have for you to believe that you can do this thing longer than what you thought. You thought maybe go to uni, just, play a bit of rugby and then, move on with your life. This has now become something that's such a big part of what you do, so it's always, it's inspiring for me to hear stuff like this, so yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I would just to add on to that. I mean, there's like you say, in the journey of just a little bit of faith and a little bit of desire and a little bit of belief in yourself, and you could do something remarkable. And and that time, that little bit of faith, it just took me a little bit of faith to believe in myself and the message God gave me. And that made me, work hard to become here. And it's been 12 years since then when I sat there. So it's crazy how time is gone by.
How quick it goes.
Yes, as well. 100%.
Yes. You touched on something, and I mean, the word says this, and I want to reference it. The word says faith without works is dead. So it's a lot of the times someone comes and says, but I believe, but there's no work attached to that. The work is the thing that carries you through to see that whole thing, that whole vision play out. So it's just I just wanted to reference that. The word says, it's Hebrews 11 somewhere. I think it's 11 verse 6. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it says that the faith without works is dead. But I wanted to touch on, you play many positions, as a professional. Do you have a favorite? Is there like because at the Lions you were wing 15. Now in Japan you play 13. I believe you played a bit of 10 as well in your career. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, just give us a rundown of all the positions you've played as professionally, and then obviously what's your favorite one and why.
Of course. That's actually, at first I actually thought, I'd have one position, and that's the position you play, especially when you got out of school. They're like, you play this position, you spela, and that's it. And I played, number 13. I played center when I was in school. And then my last year of school, or my second last year of school, they moved me to number 10. And that was like shocking. And the first team coach came to me the year before. I was grade 10, I think end of grade 10 year, my year of grade 10, and he comes to me, he's like, I think you should play 10 next season. I'm like, what? What is this guy saying to me? I'm like, yo, I don't know if I can play that position. And then I played it, and then the following year I played 15, and then I went into university playing at 15, getting selected for the SA under 20s at 15 and at 13. And then I thought those are my positions, just 13 maybe and 15 a little bit. And then I started liking playing at 15 a lot more because I had so much time on my hands. I could be get into the game as often as I want to, and I can, relax a little bit more if I want to. And I love seeing my teammates succeed, and that's the position I thought that I can create a lot of opportunities for my teammates. But I think as time went on, and I got to the Lions, and I saw the value I can add to the group and playing many positions, playing on the wing, playing at 15, playing at 13, and I think that probably opened up my IQ of the game, understanding rugby a bit better, understanding what you need from different positions, what you need from, for instance, a midfielder, what you need from outside back, etc. And I will never forget this, the day just before I made the week before I made my debut against in Super Rugby. I remember the week before that, I was selected to play 15, and then one of our teammates got a yellow card, and he was a number 9. And they just said, Salas, 9, you moet 9. I was like, yo, number 9, okay, let's go. And I played 9. I actually did an alright job in the game, and then I ended up playing, I think, like 30 minutes of number 9. I've never played it before, and that game just gave me a different sense of what it feels when you're closer to the action. What, like, the pressure's a little bit different, all that type of stuff. And I think just gave me a better understanding how to play the game, and a deeper sense of it. And eventually, I think, I ended up just liking rugby. Like, I honestly, to this day, I can't now tell you my favorite position is 15 or 13 or wing, or it could be 10, and I've played so many positions now that I just really like being on the field, wherever that may be, because I know how to influence the game and contribute in many ways. Yeah.
Sure, that's quite a cool perspective to have, man. Because usually as a player, and especially like Super Rugby days as well, guys wanted to specialize in a position, but you opened yourself up to be a player that every team needs, because you can cover all the different positions, like, and
Yes.
like, you're a playmaker as well, so you can be a playmaker on wing, but you can slot in on 10, so it's like you just bring a different element to the game, and people don't see it like that. Like, usually, especially with the younger kids now, everyone wants to be a specialist in a position, it's just learn the skills, learn the game.
100%.
You open yourself up to so many things. I spoke to a guy, and he was also saying, like, too many kids also, when they're young, like 14, 13, 14, 15, they already want to specialize exactly, but they're still growing. They don't know what they're going to look like when they get to matric. They could look like a number 8 and be an amazing number 8, by the time they get to matric, but now he wants to be a winger. Like, it's like, but now you're small and the next 3 years, and it's just that type of stuff, So I think it's quite cool. It's a cool perspective to have to say, listen, I just want to be on the field and influence the game. I have this understanding, and I know where I can make a difference. I know my skill set. So wherever the team needs me, I'll be able to adapt myself to that position, and then obviously have an influence and obviously contribute to the team. Because ultimately, that's what it's all about. We're playing a team sport. If you can influence and contribute anywhere, that's where you want to be. So I just on that, like, I think it's a cool perspective to have.
Yes, sir. I think it's a like you touched on. I think a lot of kids nowadays, I think the game has grown to where they like to play a certain position, but sometimes, like you're saying, they lack the skill set once they become older. And then they're not open to it at a younger age. So when you can come to an older age, maybe it could bite you, Whereas I try to encourage kids to learn all the skill sets you can have, And obviously when you're younger, you still have a preferred position, but I mean, learning the skill set, that will only help you, become a better rugby player.
100%, 100%. Look, you touched on the book now, and I wanted to go to that. Like Varsity Cup, uni, all together. Small town boy from George, you move up to Book.
Yep.
Like share a few highlights from your time there. Like, and if there's a story or a few stories that you can think of that might, inspire, or something that you want to share of
Yes.
your student days, because I know, the students they've got a
Student
lot of
days.
stories. A lot of stories there, but like, yeah, just share a little bit on your time at the Puck, man, because I think it's just so fitting. You've been there, and it's a big part of your journey as well.
Yes. Now the coach, I think the book meant so much to me. I will forever be in debt, for what the experience I've had there, what the people have done for me there. I've grown a lot as a person over there. Um, and as a rugby player, I've grown there as well. And I think a lot of my mindset have changed when I got to the stage of seeing how these people work. They wanna, they in that semi-professional element already, getting up early, doing all of that work. And yeah, I firstly I'll share a student moment. Um,
Yes, sir.
where
Please.
I had my friends at university. One of them he's now in Italy. He's playing for Benetton, Reno Smith, and
I know what you're doing. Yeah.
and then I had other two friends of ours. We had this thing, coming from the areas that we come from. We don't have a lot of money, so we decided, guys, what we'll do is we'll everybody will contribute a certain amount of money, and then we'll buy groceries together, and then
Oh,
we'll
wow.
teach and help each other how to make, food. So, but the best cooker of all of us was Reno Smith.
Mm.
Anyway, so then we bought all of these things, Blikkie skos and all of this canned food, whatever. And I remember the night, I'll never forget this. And Reno says, no, 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 he's gonna make us some food, whatever. Anyways, the guys are outside. We come back inside. Reno is busy there, opening up, making us a mixture of baked beans with pasta and ba-da-da-da-da. And the boys just standing there. We need to learn. We need to learn to make food. Otherwise, we'll struggle. We won't be able to eat anything. So,
Ah.
and then, so what we do was, so me and another friend of mine, Ishwanains, we'd stay in the top floor. So then we'd make meals together, and then we'll come down to Reno's room and we'll eat there together. And then there was days, when we were, student life. We'll go to the shop. We'll go buy. Not proud of that as a professional rugby player. We used to go. It was called unsleep. Well, we called it min sleep because of the a lot of calories, but it was really good protein that we were eating with good nutrition. We literally went to
Yeah.
go buy slab chips, like fried chips, and then literally just buy two loaves of bread, and they will go back home. That's what we'll go do, and this is this is our meal course. We've just finished
Oh,
training
wow.
a couple hours ago, and
Carbo load.
carbo load. We didn't understand what the essence of nutrition meant. We just thought, that's our meal for the night, and we did that for weeks. It was an undertake geweest, but we had such fun times, character building, and we learned so much about ourselves, the time that we spent together, and I'd always be thankful for how we challenge ourselves. I know Rainer was a very um driven guy as I was, so we challenged ourselves, to get better. We'd kick together, we'd go do gym sessions, trainings together, off the field, or off training days, off days where we have no training. Me and Rainer would go do some extra kicking, we'd do some extra gymming work, all that type of stuff. So the mindset, I think that doing the extra work, and uh the accessibility that the book gave us, to have all those resources at our disposal, I'd be ever grateful for that because that actually enabled me to become or have the mindset of being a professional rugby player.
Sure, sure. That's awesome, man. That's yeah. That it takes me back to when I was a student. Well, I was yeah. I was a student for 2 or 3 years, But I mean, when I
Yes.
was, it was noodles and tuna. It was like we remember the vibes, Like so, I understand that. So and I think
2 minute
there's a lot of people.
noodles on
Yo, man, yeah.
lockdown.
But now, we get to, and we have to talk about this, the Kings, like till this day, I believe you and Luther Obi were the biggest signings of the Kings to date. Like it was life changing. It was
Yes,
life changing. Like,
it
but
was.
talk about the experience, like what was it like? Because I know like you guys obviously, it was a massive opportunity for you,
Yes,
share as much went into that, it was a massive opportunity. It came with its challenges as well, but
yes,
how did that affect you? Like, how did that add to your life experience, when you went there and all the stuff that you went through, the highs and the lows, like
yes.
what did that all mean to you?
Um, Obviously it started at the Lions, so because I've been there, already a couple of months there. I've settled into the team already. And I enjoyed everybody, yourself, you were there about a year there, and a lot of the
Yeah,
guys were still new there as well, and it was just a good energy about that group, which I loved.
yeah,
Um, but I think a lot of learnings from me from in decision making that time of my life, and knowing, and also in that same time, I had my brother passed away,
mm,
and my father was getting very ill. So
mm,
financially, that was probably the biggest, the reason which went into me going to that, making that
yeah,
decision. And I remember a year just before I got to the Lions, I remember Carlos Spencer was still training, and he was coaching still at the Lions then.
mm,
I remember Alton loved working with him before. And I remember speaking to Alton about him, asking him about, about Carlos. And he's like, Carlos is world class. He loved working with Carlos Spencer.
mm,
And so I just tried to make my own decision, thinking, you know what, it'd be an awesome experience for me to go there. It's close to my hometown. Um, I love the beach, obviously because I'm coming from the coast. So those are things
yeah,
that I love. My family's close by. Like I said, I had my brother pass away. My father was getting ill. So a lot of things was going into that, perspective or side of things. And then Luther as well we were very close, me and Obi,
yeah,
very, very close friends. And he was telling me, bro, maybe this is a fresh start for both of us,
mm,
to go there. And I must say, to this day, I always feel like I regretted making that decision, but now in hindsight, I'm actually I've learned so much from my experience of what I went through when I made that decision, and
mm,
I'm forever grateful for what transpired after that. And I think,
yeah,
um, just for me being there in experiencing the things that we went to at the Kings, obviously it was
mm,
obviously good intentions. The people were working hard as well. All rugby teams obviously work hard. There was a good energy amongst the boys there. Same thing, but I think there was a lot of other things that was out of the control of the team, which
yeah,
went wrong there. But I think for a lot of personal things as well that I grew. That I went when I went there, I grew, in a personal capacity. And a lot of other things that was awesome, that I could see my family, almost every week. I could go see my family, see my father while he was still sick, and spend time with them as well. So, which was fantastic. And I would never forget Coach Aki's calling me. This is the fun part of this, or the funny part of the story was, I remember we were about to play the Bulls in just a warm up game, literally before
yeah.
the week, two
I
weeks or
think we
so
won.
before Super Rugby
We
started.
won cap. I think we
Yes,
won
we
cap.
were
Yeah, yeah,
we were just in the January, end of January stage, and
yeah.
obviously myself and my agent, we made a decision, um, to go there to the Kings. And I remember speaking to my agent about this. Obviously, the Lions are they informed about it, etc., etc. And I was, told to believe that they had excuse me, and then so I'm understanding that they know I'm at the Kings, like, da 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 da. I remember, coach, it was the weirdest thing. I see Johan Ackerman on my phone calling me. I'm like, oi, is Coach Aki's gonna be angry at me. I don't know how to. And I'm answering the phone, and Coach Aki speaks to me. He's like, Salas, what's the plan? I've selected you to play against the Bulls this weekend. I'm like, Coach, I'm in Port Elizabeth now, Klebeja, and what's the situation now? I was unaware of that. I heard the guys were talking about rumors, da, da, da. But we had such a good conversation, coach, about Coach Aki's. I just have such respect for that guy. And he says to me, Salas, I understand, there's different, things that go into making these decisions. But from what the conversation, and I think from what he received is that you can hear that I loved my time at the Lions. And he said to me, Salas, if you want to come back to the Lions, please call me and we'd love to have you back. I'll never forget that when he said that to me. And obviously just a couple months after that, I was back at the Lions.
Yeah. But you still live there.
You still live there.
100%, and we're gonna piggyback off of that. Your time with the Lions, and we've had a few. I think it's kind of becoming a thing. Because I've had quite a few of your old teammates on, and it feels like this has become a Lions podcast, like the old Lions podcast.
Yes,
but it's just it's testament to the relationships we built there, and the time
100%.
that we had there. It was such a special time, and obviously also a special time in your career where you played quite a bit of your rugby. What were you most excited about? When you thought about like, okay, I'm joining the Lions now, but now it's going to be an actual full time. I'm on my way to the Lions. What were you most excited about?
Of course, I was most excited about learning. To be honest, I wanted to learn a lot. One thing that I do remember is we were doing this is now in preseason. I remember our defense coach JP Ferreira, who was busy doing a defensive breakdown about the games we played in the previous season, and I'm sitting there and I'm just soaking in the knowledge, like how he breaks down the game, etc., and what he sees and what we haven't done right and what we should do. So I was really excited to get back in that environment and learn. I learned so much, my time at the Lions. And I apply that, learnings to this day where I'm at the moment. And also the way that the Lions played, obviously we played in their team together, and just the excitement it brings, not just to obviously the fans, they see that, but we inspire each other, the players inspire each other. You at training sessions, you're like, it was such a fun time to be around, because, when the guys were just expressing themselves, it was such a good team to be, around, expressing, your God-given talent, and how, for the most part, I felt like guys wanted to see, each other succeed and do well. And, obviously we were competing for positions, but it just felt like it was fun, it was competitive. It was really competitive. People obviously wouldn't know, but it was super competitive, with tough trainings, defending each other and having to attack against each other. Honestly, it was probably the funnest time I've had, because I was also young, obviously, both of us being young in that time. And I thought learning a lot from how the guys manage the games, and obviously, like I said, I was a guy who played many positions, so I had to soak up and learn so many things, from different players, which I loved. And obviously, like I said, playing, and the fans was amazing. It was the best time to have played. Any game we've played on Ellis Park, or even in other venues that we played in, it was amazing. The fans came out, in droves, and came to watch and support the boys, and like they'll stay after the game so long and like want to interact with the players. And I loved it. Seeing how all the players interacted with the fans just gave me so much like comfort and wanting to be in that group.
I want to ask you something. You've been at a few pre-seasons under Cash, do you have a pre-season story that you'd like to share? I can think of one.
You go ahead. You go ahead first. You go ahead
Just
first,
so people
and
can
I'll
have a
tell.
perspective, you saying that we were competitive and we worked hard, like, is there a
Yes.
story that you can tell me to make them understand, like, what it was like, Lions preseason, what it was like when we were there?
Yo, I remember, yo, um, that's the toughest to this day. I've compared this the other day. I was telling this to some of my teammates I have today. I said to them, I said, guys, I've never done preseasons as hard as I've done it, 6, 7, 8 years ago. That was the toughest thing for me. Like I couldn't, in my mind, it didn't make sense, like how my body would be able to take this, load every day, coming in, having to do. I remember the first time, like listening to our cash was breaking down, the preseason. I remember the first 3 days. It
Sure.
always start on a Wednesday, or yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's the first, normally the first 3 days. And I remember you did the 3K, and then I remember Cash saying we're coming back again to do yo-yo test, and then we coming. I'm like, huh? Is this guy is this guy serious? Are we doing this? I'm sitting there thinking, I thought this is professional rugby is gonna be the best time of my life, and it just sounds like it's gonna be so tough.
Awesome.
And I remember we doing our yo-yo testing, we doing the thingy, and so now I don't know how's the training gonna be like. It's the first part of the testing is done, and we start the next week Monday. And we're doing those trainings where you do I don't know if you can remember that one session we would do 1.6 and then to a 1K and then to 800, then to 600, then to 400, then back from 400 all the way back there. Bruh,
It was, it was bad.
that was like mentally thinking to myself, you have to go recover. I remember you telling me that. I remember
Yep.
me just coming there, you telling me, Salas, recover me, bruh. Just recover. Get ready for tomorrow. We're gonna go again. I'm like, Coach, are you being serious? And you saying this, with this good energy. I'm like, nah, this guy, this bruh, I don't know what this guy is not right, man. And everybody been saying the same thing to me, and I'm thinking, yo, how am I gonna do this? The next day we come in again, we're doing how many 200 meters, Then,
It was like 20 or 30, 200, but you break it up in like sets
yes,
of 10. There's a time
yeah,
constraint to it. You have to get in with a certain time. The rest of
exactly.
it. Oh my
And
goodness, it
how
was fun.
Cash was with us, he loved sprinters. He loved the quick
Yes.
guys. And he was
It was
always
hard.
like, I was very hard on us. You need to make this time. Salas, come on, Salas. And if I remember, if you didn't have a good training, and he'll come to you and he's, Salas, what's up? Hoe gaan het? How's your body? But we need you. We'll need you, Salas. You need to work hard on this. Da, 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 da. And now I'm just thinking about this. I told this one guy, I told him we would do sessions of 45 minutes without a rugby ball on a rugby field. And this man thought I was lying. I was like,
Yep.
bruh, you don't see a rugby ball in sight. You just only see cones, and you see Joe's Bucky standing there for the noise of the yo-yo
Yep.
testing or whatever we were doing. But you didn't see rugby balls until you see them in January. There's
100%.
a tough life, man. Yeah.
Good times, brother. Like, obviously it was hectic, but good times, good times. Is there, on top of that, is there any regrets? Would you go back? Or is Japan like your final destination? If it's a tough question to answer, you can obviously
Yeah.
you can obviously skip it. But like, is Japan the final destination?
Coach, at first I remember because I got to the Lions at a stage where obviously the Lions literally were in their resurgence, and there was a lot of good energy in that group and a lot of the guys. I mean, I'm sure you are still in touch with a lot of the other guys as well. I'm still in contact with a lot of the guys. I'm still playing with one of them over here in Japan, but I remember thinking about this the first time it hit me in 17 and 18, I think, is when, the Coach Aki's leaves, and, you see a lot of movement happening. The boys are leaving, and you're thinking, yo, a lot of the young guys are coming through, and they're playing well, and you're thinking, it feels like the energy's busy changing, and I'm still young, but I feel like I'm one of the older guys, older statesmen, but I'm still young. So you're going through that thinking, yo. And I remember initially leaving the Lions, I I thought I knew I had to face something different and be in a different environment. And I had to start growing, a little bit different, see the game maybe a little bit differently. And I thought maybe there was a good idea to go, but I remember initially just getting to Japan, like instantly, I was thinking to myself, I've just been there for so long, like that's all I know. The conversations, the lingo of the game, And I remember we would be in trainings. In my first couple of weeks, I would still say just out of the habit, saying Lions lingo, like, and then the guys would be like, what is this guy saying? And I'm obviously speaking a different language to them, the Japanese boys now. And they're like, what is this guy saying? But of course, to be honest, I love it here, man. We fell in love here in Japan. I love this country. I love the people. We love the culture that the people have here, what the people represent here as well. And the game, how much has grown, over these years, being here and seeing how big the game has become, or how big the league has become now.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it, man. We've been having our best time over here in Japan as well, having all our kids here, me and my wife, our whole family's here. So,
I wanted to actually go into that, before we talk more in detail on Japan. You married now, you've got little ones. I mean, I started before you, but it looks like you're trying to get ahead now, But,
trying to get the basketball team.
hey, brother, seventh team or something, But like, how do what do you enjoy most about being a family man, being a father, a husband? Like, what do you enjoy most about that?
Of course, there was probably one of the other things in my life that I always aspired to try and do well and be almost elite at that.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, and my father had me when he was much older. So by the time when I got older in my high school days, my father was a little bit older. He's sick now as well. So we didn't really have a lot of time I spent with my father then, and obviously went to university and obviously Lions. So there's all of that stuff. I always thought to myself, you know what, I want to be part, at an early stage. I want to have my kids a little bit younger than which my father had them, and I want to be in their lives. And my grandfather was probably my biggest role model in my life, and he was that guy. He cares so much about family, like he cares about family no matter what. I remember me and my cousin, we would catch on nonsense, break a window here from playing cricket or whatever, and our grandfather would come and ask, who did it, and then my cousin and my grandfather will hit him, but he will instantly would say sorry. Like he was such a uh affectionate person. He loved being around his family, his grandkids. So when I remember when thinking to myself, when I start my own family, I want to devote a lot of my attention, my energy to my kids, and to my wife as well. And I just enjoy it. I just enjoy being at home. I just enjoy being with my kids, spending time with them and helping them grow and kicking the balls with them and laughing with them and all that stuff.
And just me being a father, has it changed your sense of purpose? Has it like given you an extra to your why? Like how has that been? Like obviously mindset wise, like like how did that affect you in that way?
Yes, I would say in the start, your why, it was initially, you want to become professional, you want to be a rugby player, and you want to do well, you want to succeed in life in general. And as your partner comes by, your why includes your partner now. And then you keep on going, and then you create, a child together. And then a lot of perspective and things little starts to change, because a lot of your important, like I won't say important, but a lot of your energy goes into, your partner and your kid. So now a lot of that, your child. It's, you both are becoming parents together simultaneously at the same time, having, it's like experience is the best teacher. You can't really say, yeah, you have to do this, you have to do this. But if you get there, then that experience is the only thing that can help you and
Yeah.
become better. So I think that perspective changes and how you include that into your why and how you see life differently now. Like, I remember thinking to myself, if, for instance, just example, if a game finishes, your coach, I'm about recovering, love my lichaam, love my slap. I
Yes.
love to take care of my body. And now I'm thinking about, okay, mama's at home, the kids, they've been crying, da 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 da. How can I do this maybe at a later stage? May I have to do this time? Do I have to come a little bit earlier? Do I have to go sleep early so I can get this? Like, things just
Yeah.
suddenly changes. Small examples like that, but you learn how to fit in everything as things go by. But it definitely enhanced my why. Definitely enhanced my why. Initially, obviously, was like I said about myself and how can I represent my family and my family's, my father's legacy, my mother's legacy,
Yeah.
um, and put that on my back. And but how can I create my own legacy with my own family, and my wife? And it's crazy now. I've known my wife almost 12 years now as well. So just how times it just it just changes, but it feels so, to me it feels like it's so far away. Like, but we've, have kids now for 4 years, but like it feels like, that time was so long ago, when you thought about just yourself and just about how you do things.
No, that's it's a special time,
And
man. Like
how and how has it affected you, coach?
for me, yes, brother. Like for me, I've always wanted to have kids. You know me. When we met
Yes,
each other, I've always been a guy that said I want to be a
yes,
family man. I want my kids young. I want them to see me play rugby. I want to play with them. I want to
yep,
be a young old man one day. So when my
yes,
kids go to university and they have girlfriends and they start getting married, I want to be able to run around and do things.
yep,
That
yep,
people maybe were struggling to do at that time. God willing, I'll be able to do that. But how it's added to me now is especially the phase that my kids are in now is like they're starting to do sport now. So I'm
mm.
now coach number one, so where I didn't have
Competitive
the
coach.
patience. I tell someone to do something and they can't do it the first time because I'm so used to a professional environment. I want you to
Mm.
know and immediately. But now with my kids, I'm learning patience. Like I'm learning, like, listen, I need to teach him exactly what to look at, how to keep his hands, what he needs to do, what he needs to think about for him to just catch a ball. So
Yep,
now a year
yep,
ago, they couldn't catch a high ball. Now I can throw a ball almost as high
wow,
as I want to and they'll go
nice,
for it. Even if they miss it, they'll
nice.
go for it. And five out of six or 5 out of 7 times they'll catch it. And it's amazing to see that progress. So I'm in that
Yes.
phase now where, like my purpose is to, give them all the stuff that I have for them now to start
Mm.
their own journey. Started athletics, they start all of that kind of stuff. So we literally, my wife and I, we're in a place now where we're trying to empower them to just
You have the
go out
blueprint.
and experience and create their own, journey. Like, because now their journeys are
100%.
starting. So, and I'm getting to the tail end of my career, so I can spend more time on what it is that they want to do. So it's definitely it's nice for me because it gives you. Sometimes like before I had kids, it was just rugby, 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 rugby. And then
Mm.
I had kids, and I could get that balance. And it's amazing, once you find that balance in between all of it, family life, work,
Yep,
training, and then having business aspirations and all that stuff. Once you
yep,
find that mix, it's obviously a constant battle and a constant fight.
yes,
But once you find, I feel like that's kind of what it's brought for me. Having kids, having a family, it constantly challenges me to find that balance. Because I can't just do something. I need to consider so
100%.
many things when I'm making decisions. So that's kind of what I think. That's probably the biggest thing. It's changed in my life.
I fully agree. I fully agree.
And so now, Japanese, like, you knew I was going to ask you something Japanese, but I'm being selfish first. I
Yes,
I know a few words. I'll tell you what I know. I know konnichiwa,
yes,
I know sayonara, I use
yes,
arigato a lot. Arigato gozaimasu.
yes,
Like I use that so much because of our times that we traveled, and then there's a guy that I play
yes,
poker with. and he taught me Gombenesai. So he's like
Gomenasai.
Gombenesai with a deep voice, very respectful, and you have to bow. It
Yes.
means I'm sorry. That's what he said.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, is there something that you can teach me that I can use on a daily basis, except for now, arigato? Is there something that you can
Yes.
teach me that I can use, like to interact with someone at the petrol station, or that I can use at training or whatever, like a short little phrase that I can use that you can maybe teach me, because I like learning
Yes.
about other languages.
Yes. So Gomenasai, that's very polite, to say meaning I'm sorry. But the big thing, or the one of the words that the Japanese use a lot here is simasen, which is a little bit easier to say. Simasen. Yeah. That actually means excuse me, but at the same time it means sorry. It depends on the context how you're using it. So
Okay,
you can say
okay.
simasen. That means as well, like I'm sorry, for what I did. And then domo is another word for arigato.
Okay.
So you could just say domo. That's also like saying, thank you, in the same sense of saying arigato is a little bit longer. Yeah.
So how do I? So if I ask someone, how are you doing? So what would
Oh,
that
okay.
sound like?
Okay. So it's actually a short phrase. It is genki desu ka.
Genki
Um,
desu ka?
there it is. And then when you answer back, you just say genki. Genki
Wow.
desu. Yeah. So when you say genki desu ka, desu ka is actually just a question. And then when you just remove the ka and just say genki desu, that means I'm well. So in essence,
Okay.
the question is, are you well? It's the same as, are you doing okay? How are you doing? You just go
Yeah, yeah.
genki.
Cool, cool. I'll,
Yeah.
I'll definitely, I'll
Yeah.
definitely use that. I'll definitely use that. So
Yes. Yes.
you've obviously touched on, Japan being such a lovely place, and you guys are enjoying it. It's becoming home now. Like, what is the best thing about the place, and how is the rugby there? Like the actual rugby, like playing rugby there.
Yes.
How is that?
Good question, man. Japan. One thing I love about this plane is from this place is how respectful people are. That's probably the biggest thing I would think a lot of people would tell you about how respectful people are with each other. I think obviously in Japan they have Japanese, as their only nationality, but the people are super respectful, wherever you may go, and there's a politeness of how they deal with you, how they speak to you. I found the nicest people in the world, I've experienced here in Japan. And then obviously there's a crazy big work ethic as well of Japanese people. So especially in the rugby, if I think about it in the rugby context, the players, especially the younger players, they would almost train an hour after training. You'd still see them on the field trying to perfect skill sets, and it's unbelievable. I never thought, it's super. The one thing I loved about things at Lions is there was always like guys always wanted to do extras, always wanted to work a little bit in their skill set. Always. So I came here to Japan thinking I'm gonna be one of the only ones doing this, and they ended up seeing the whole team is still busy
Sure.
training for like 20, 30 minutes. The guys are still, doing different skill sets, which was, eye-opening to me. But seeing how people are polite, um, and just respectful how they are with you. And then in terms of the rugby courts, the rugby has gotten so much better since I got here to Japan. I mean, the obviously they're bringing a lot of the best players in the world. International players are here at the moment in Japan, but
Yeah.
also the level of standard of the rest of the competition is getting better. And
Yeah.
the competition currently that we are in, I mean, from the first team to the number seventh team, it's highly competitive. A lot
Yeah.
of parity in the competition now. The game is at such a high, like it's a high skill level. The game, the ball and play is a lot more.
Yeah.
And because I think the skill level, like I said, the skill level is so high that if there's a knock on, someone can bounce and if the ball be played and the advantage would be over, and it would go another
Yeah.
couple of phases, and there may be a kick, and then another phase they will play again, and there's a attacking type of mindset here in Japan, which I love, obviously,
Yeah.
because that's how we played at the Lions, and that's how
Yeah.
I grew up, playing rugby. So
Yeah.
that's probably one thing that I love about the game here. And also like the level I think is in terms of the physicality, intensity of the games have tremendously made a big leap, I would say, in my experience. Obviously, I can't speak for
Yeah,
everybody, but in my experience from the games I've been in part of in the start of, I mean, in 2020, 2019, 2020, and then into now in 25, 5, 6 years after that, I can feel the level
mm,
of players better. The Japanese players at a high level now, a lot of them are
yeah,
playing at a high level and high standard as well. So which is
mm,
obviously good for the league itself, but also for for Japan as well. To
yeah.
get these players exposed to the a lot of the best players in the world, and also different cultures and the way of stylistically of how different coaches are playing it. Different international coaches are here as well, so it's really at a high level at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good to hear. I mean, I had this conversation with Willie as well, and I highlighted some of the same stuff, like especially with the politeness of the people. How they so like culturally driven. Like everyone
Mm,
knows. It's almost everyone knows exactly how they need to act. Everything's
yep,
clean. Everything's
yep,
well kept. Everything looked after. They're respectable people. Like so it's nice to hear that everyone's having the same experience because that means that is definitely their identity. That's exactly what
mm,
Japanese people say. And it's cool to hear that it's so many similar stuff that guys would be talking about. But it's nice to hear also like how the game has grown there. I mean, we can see with the national side like how Japan is playing. We can see how the game has developed in the country. They had a plan. What was it, 15, 20 years ago? They were like, listen, we're going to
mm,
be one of the biggest competitors in the world, and they took it
yep,
from being nowhere to where it is now. And I think it's quite cool
100%.
that guys like you get to be involved and be part of that growth, and part of that, like you said, you like to contribute. And I think that's quite
Yep.
a cool privilege to have, is to be able to be part of that. Because how many players have you worked with now that you've left something with, like the one
Yeah,
day,
100%.
you look back and say, listen, I was part of growing something that was a way bigger vision than what I had in mind for just myself. So I think, yeah, it's quite nice to hear that. It's really heartwarming.
And also, I think also the Japanese players are so eager, to learn the game
Mm.
as well. I mean, we are very privileged in South Africa and other countries as well, where rugby is like almost a religion to us. You get taught the
Mm.
game at a very, very young age. You get to play it at a very young age, 5, 6 years. So by the time when
Yeah.
you get to 18 years old, you might have played the game, 11, 12 years already. So
Yeah.
then you have a better understanding, where some of the kids here only get to play that at a older age, where I think
Mm.
the game is going into schools now. The university game is big as big here as well. So you get to see when players get out of university, getting to the professional setup, they're really eager, to learn, and they ask
Mm.
questions. They how do you do
Yeah.
this? Why do you do this? Why do you defend like this? Why did you, call this in that time? Why did we do that? Why did we kick here? Da, 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 da. And very
Yeah.
eager, and it's also rewarding to see players, that I've worked with. I remember yesterday a player played his 50th game for the one club, and I remember when he got there at the university, just finished university. He came to me. He's very shy, but he was asking me so many questions, and he's doing
Mm.
super well now, and playing at a very high level. So which is awesome to see.
That's top. That's top, man. That's top. So, you're 31 years old now. Obviously in Japan, you can play another 10 years, like, I don't know if that's how long you still want to
Yo,
play,
yo,
but I'm
yo.
sure I'm sure you're supposed to be like a 40-year-old outside center, like I don't know. But you've always been savvy. You've always been forward thinking when it comes to like life after the game. If you want to share on that, like what are some of the things that you think players can focus on? Maybe using some of your
Mm,
own examples if you want to,
yes.
and then also like just advice, for younger players that are just starting out now. Some stuff that you maybe wished you did when you were younger. That you now do, but you wish you had more time, to do that stuff from when you were like 19, 20, 21, maybe 23.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
touch a little bit of that as well, please.
I think, yeah. What one thing I've realized now, when you get a little bit older, how you start um trying to get into networking, with a lot of people. Where I thought when I was younger, you thought, yeah, man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to sit here with this guy and he's talking a lot about stuff that obviously you don't know about. But you never know how important a conversation could be. It could spark something, it could create a connection. You could have a
Yeah.
network going from the start of that, at the back end of that, and it creates something much bigger for you eventually. And you can, have
Yeah.
a connection at multiple places, multiple people, and start something for you where maybe you probably thought you didn't have any interest in. Um, and also I think, well, for me, I started when I thought initially when I went to university, um, when I got out of school, I thought, I'm going to study this and I'm going to do this, and I did partially study as well when I was playing at the Lions as well. So I thought there's one thing I told myself I need to do and I want to do, and just to still get my mind around what am I gonna do outside of the game? That's one thing I realized when I got here in Japan is like I probably should have thought about it more often than think about how do I look outside of just rugby? What
Yeah.
does Sylvian Mahuza look like without, rugby in the almost like a when you get out of the game and refresh and what else do you do? And I think once you put your mind into thinking about that more, I think you will discover where your passions are and what the things that you want to do, and what do you love, and what do you like your passions about yourself, and what do you want to invest your energy to and your time into. Because I thought, or what I've realized now is that then when you get to this age, then you want to rush yourself because you're thinking about like, oh no, the game is gonna finish. You don't obviously don't know when it's gonna finish. Until
Yeah.
the body doesn't allow you anymore. But I think then you want to rush into things and not having perspective, and what is the passion you like to, what do you want to give your time into, what do you want to invest your energy into, because
Yeah.
sometimes you can just invest your energy into the wrong things,
Yeah.
and then a lot of energy has been wasted there, a lot of time you have lost, but obviously that's also a learning curve in itself. But I think a lot of times outside of the game, think about when you're younger now, really, what is it that you see yourself as without rugby in their frame of mind, as a refreshment thing. I've just finished training. How do I see Sylvian Mahuza or Courtnall Skosan? How
Yeah.
do I see myself outside of the game? And yeah, coach, I also had good friends, that have a lot of other opportunities, other investments, other business ideas that they've shared with me, which I've got involved with, with other friends of mine. So I think that's also an idea, is to have a good network, and the friends that you have surrounding you, is also important, and people that you can
Yeah.
build with, people that can help you and challenge you at the same time, which has been very instrumental in my life and my growth as well. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to surround yourself with people that have similar outlooks than you. Maybe sometimes they can challenge you, which is good sometimes. So it can make you think
Yeah.
about, outside the box, things that you weren't necessarily thinking about, I would say, a couple of years ago, but now you start thinking about it, and it makes you open to more things in life. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that would probably be my advice, coach.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I like talking about this stuff. I mean, when we were younger, we always used to have these
100%.
types of conversations,
100%.
and it's a time where I feel like it should openly be discussed more, so that
A
we never
thousand.
know, who's listening to this conversation, who might take something away
100%.
from this conversation. Might not be this specific part of the conversation, but it might be somewhere else, and
Yep.
like I told you. This has been something that has been in the pipelines. I sent you that screenshot the other day of our episode that we
Yep.
did 7 years ago in
Seven,
our
eight
room
years
in
ago, 7, 8 years
Australia.
ago.
Roommates. We were
Crazy.
roommates in Australia. We did the whole thing. I left it as private on YouTube. I edited it. Everything is
Yes.
laying there. Like, Courtnall, what did you do with your time? But I mean, this is God's time now, like this is God's time and
100%.
everything's perfect. But like you said, like, think about, like, I think, and that's a big thing. I think people need to understand, like, when you do sports, you need to also understand who you are. Don't make the
Mm,
sport who you are, like,
mm,
understand that you are someone. Figure that out, because then you'll be able to follow your passion. Sport is something that you do, it's not your
100%.
identity. And I think that
100%.
that's the main thing that I took out of what you just said now.
100%. Yeah. I think it's very important, was sports, or I would say in our professional environment, it's part of who you are. It's not who you are, and once you can understand who you are and what is your interest, what do you love doing, where's my passions, and I think that will slowly direct you into the place where you need to put your energy to, and your time towards, etc., etc. But it takes time, experience is the best thing you need to you go through,
100%.
once you get to that time, you're like, no, I've experienced this is how, so it takes time, but at least you know the framework and how to get there. That's the
100%. I think, like, for me, thinking back as a young lady, when I was 19, 20, when coaches were talking about, you don't have enough experience, when you're asking, coach, why am I not playing? You don't understand that conversation. You're like, listen, I'm good enough. Just pick me, But now when you
yes,
look back and you understand what experience has done for you, now having
yep,
experience, you understand actually it's a type of a commodity, because you only get
100%,
it with time. So it's like
100%.
you've been in so many situations before, and when you're young, you don't understand these things. So some people will be young and look at this and be like, "What are these guys talking about?" But then 5, 6
100%.
years from now, they'll understand what it was all about having that conversation. But I wanted to also ask you, and I know you're quite, big in, like, giving back, and obviously spending time and investing time in motivating and inspiring people. A young boy or girl might be watching now from somewhere in the world thinking, I have a big dream, but no one in my family has done this before. So what makes me so special? And I mean,
Yes.
I've been there. I've been there. Like, what would you say to that young boy or girl?
The remarkable thing about a human being is that when they start to believe in themselves, they can do remarkable things. Is the moment when you start to put a little bit of faith, in a dream of yours. And one thing that I do understand about life is life. If it was easy, everybody could do it. It's a cliche, but
But so
if it
true.
was easy, everybody would do it. That's why it's not, and it takes, desire, willingly, thought process, a lot of things goes into it. But I think if it's about the faith you have in yourself, is speaking positive thoughts into your mind, when somebody doesn't believe in yourself, and pick yourself, pick your thought, pick your brain, and believe in what
Mm.
you do. I think that I got that quotes I just gave to you. I got that in maybe grade 6 or 7, and I wrote it down in a book. And to this day, I still, anytime I go through something and I think about, get into my why again, I'm thinking about when I'm starting to believe in myself, I do remarkable things. So it starts
Yeah.
within yourself. Nobody
Mm.
externally, obviously we get external support and influence to change our perspective of ourselves, but it needs to start from
Yeah.
within. If you don't have faith within first, then you'd always externally go look for it, and want someone, to give your pat on the back always, but
Yeah.
it needs to start from you. You need to be wanting to do it. And always just make peace with the fact that it's gonna take work, it's gonna take time. Some people's journeys are, different than others. Some people have a quick journey, some people don't have a quick journey, but it's about the process. How do you stay in love with the process? Don't forget that the process is the thing that will take you to that spot that you ultimately want to get to. So
Yeah.
know that there's going to be hard work that needs to be done, and just stay the course.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. And I want to add something to that as well. I think when you have that feeling of, I have this dream, but what, that little doubt creeps in, understand that that vision is coming from God. Like, He placed that in your
Yes,
heart. He gave you that
100%.
desire to strive for that thing. Like you
Yes,
said, it's not easy. We don't know what it's going to look like for us to get there, and that doubt will come sometimes. But like you
mm,
said, you got to find ways, to mitigate all of that, because the vision needs to be clear. As long as the vision is clear and you have the faith and you believe, you will get challenges along the way. But it's so much more rewarding getting to the other side of it. Imagine you thinking now, you sat and you watched that game when you were 18 or 17. You watch that game and you say, God, if I can make it there, like, that's the vision now, right? So
100%.
that's what you need. If you weren't there, if you didn't make that vow to yourself, imagine, think about like what your life could have maybe been today. Like not. It's obviously it could have been something else. It could have been something else
Mm,
great, but this life that you have now is amazing. And this is it
mm.
all started with a little dream and a vow that you made to yourself and a prayer that you prayed to God to say, listen,
Yep.
this is the vision I have, empower me and show me the way, like, and I feel like that people need to understand that when you get that little unction inside of yourself, that's the vision. That's what God is giving
Yes.
you, like, then you need to push on from there. And we don't know what that road looks like, but the reward on the other side of it is, it's eternal. That's your legacy.
Stay
That's
the
what you
course.
leave behind.
Stay the course.
100%. 100%. So we almost done. So as we always do a little quick fire at the end. 10 questions, you answer them. I'm gonna give them quick. So it's like literally like coffee or tea, pizza or burger,
Oh,
that type of vibe. Very simple. Just for people to get a little bit, so they can
I'm a
understand and get
father
to know you.
coach now. My brain works slow now.
Take your time, take your time. There's 10 of them.
No, no, no. I'm up for it. I'm up for it. Yep.
I'm gonna start and then you take your time. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Coffee. Definitive coffee.
Summer or winter?
Winter. Japan summer is too hot. Winter.
Ah,
I'm a winter guy.
perfect. Night owl or early bird?
Early bird. Early bird.
Sushi or steak?
It. Oh, it.
No.
Sushi now. It has to be sushi now. Before,
Yes.
I've always loved steak. Japan, sushi world.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Your favorite rugby player of all time and why?
Matt Gito. He could
Wow.
play
Why?
a lot of positions. A lot of positions. He was also a shorter guy, smaller guy as well. He could play in the midfield. He was a creative guy. And he just had a little bit of like grit to him. Like he was like a tough type of guy, So yes, my all-time favorite guy, all-time favorite.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Braided hair or the classic fader?
I missed the braided
Because
hair
I know
actually.
we both had braids, so like this
I
type of.
Coach, as soon as I cut my hair, for, I know I'm getting older now, so my family is geblessed. So I do have the bless. It's coming, but gonna be bald soon. But I miss the dreads definitely, or the braids. The braids,
Yeah,
sorry.
so the braids definitely. Your dream sports car?
Formula One. It has to be Lewis Hamilton's 2020. What's it? W15? Yes, probably. It's obviously it's not a car that I can actually drive, but a Formula One car that Lewis Hamilton's
Sure.
what is this? The seventh World Championships car. Probably that would be the one I would love
Sure.
to.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Dream job if you were not playing rugby?
I would I would still be in rugby probably, but as a as like a consultant attack. I would love to do attacking, but consulting only. So if they want to fire the coach, they can't fire me.
Favorite
Yeah,
city you've traveled to in the world?
favorite city I've traveled to, La Rochelle in France.
Oh, nice.
Probably our
Beautiful
junior
place.
World Cup was there. It's beautiful, and I still have
Beautiful.
memories to this day of that place. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful place. A beautiful place. Favorite thing to do when you're not training or playing rugby?
My favorite thing would normally be playing games with my wife. It's I got my wife to start playing video games with me, and
Ah,
it's like a match in heaven. Like she loved doing
what
it
do
now,
you guys play?
so we'd always be playing. Either we'd love to be in NBA. Then there's another
Ah,
game called Biohazard. It's
okay.
Resident Evil. Sometimes she'll watch me play GTA at times, but normally together we'd always play a game that we both could play together. So sometimes Formula One as well. But the game
Okay.
we mostly would play, it's either on the Resident Evil game or the NBA 2K.
No FIFA.
Courts, too many fights. Too many fights. So we stopped that. We played maybe once or twice. This was in during COVID. And we stopped that. So that's put to bed. That's put to bed.
No, that's awesome. Sylvian, brother, we will definitely have to do another one. We'll have to do a part 2. I really
100%.
enjoyed this. I think a lot of people would have learned a lot about your rugby journey. I think there's a lot of information there. Also, just your family life, your mindset. Even the technical stuff of how rugby is growing in Japan. We've covered a lot, and I just want to say thank you for making yourself available for this. It was nice for me to see you also. We haven't seen each other in quite a while, although it's obviously over this platform. Hopefully sometime when you guys, I'm in Cape Town now, so if you guys are in George, on holiday,
Yes.
it would be nice. It would be nice for us to get together. That would be amazing. But
100%.
I just want to say thank you for your time. Tell your wife as well that I say thank you so much. For making you available for this. We really appreciate it. And yeah, you never know who's listening to these conversations, who might be inspired. And I'm happy that we're doing it officially proper now. It's amazing. So I just want to say, brother, I'm grateful. I'm honored. And I just want to wish you all the best on that side. For how many 9-10 years you still want to play there. I hope you enjoy it. And, who knows? We might see you playing for Japan in the next World Cup. That would be amazing. If we could see something like that, I think it would be an amazing reward. For the rugby that you put out there, and the type of player that you are, and the person that you are as well. So yeah, that's just from my side. I want to say thank you.
Thanks, Courts. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, and it's always awesome. We've had amazing chats over the years, and always good to catch up. When we get the time to, and just grateful and thankful for you and for you being part of my journey as well, and just all the best with the podcasting. And I've always thought that I was so excited when you said you're gonna do it. I literally was sitting on the couch telling my wife, oh, Coach is finally gonna do this, because obviously, like you said, 7-8 years ago, we did that shot, and super happy for what you're doing now, and continue to do, and continue inspiring, brother. You've inspired me. You've inspired so many, and I just blessings upon your life, you and your family's life, and thank you to yourself, brother. Many blessings, man.
Andres, no, thanks so much, brother. I appreciate it, man.
I told her mom that I bust soon.